Once
got
again,
it.
I'm recording at 6, right? Just like last week.
What?
Like my levels lowered than usual.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Good. Let's go.
All right, syncing us all together in 3, 2, 1,
One.
and again in 3, 2,
One.
1.
I'm gonna be an amazing conductor of meetings when I'm older.
You're never going to be older.
Never. I'm just gonna
You're
be
gonna be an amazing conductor, like the train conductor.
for the Hype City train.
Yep.
All right. So we'll just talk about our info. We'll pepper the facts in. Feel free to bring whatever facts and figures you want.
Can we
Question.
salt the facts?
Can we what?
Question.
Salt the facts?
Sure.
Terrible pun. Never mind.
Is this Battlefront exclusive or is this Star Wars Mania, basically?
This is Battlefront exclusive, I think,
Yes.
but we'll
Feel free to bring in something.
touch.
the second
Well, no,
half.
I just wanted to touch on the fact that like the trailer got watched like over 80 million times in 24 hours, and the excitement for the movie. I mean, because I don't know how long we can talk about those like short details. I mean,
And
whatever.
the fact that it was more watched in England than in the United States, which is kind of interesting.
Well, Scott, he just
Probably
watched
why-
it a million times.
Probably why the next Star Wars celebration is in London.
Yeah,
Just interesting that England seems to be bigger on Star Wars than America.
because we want.
Do you think Star Wars is one of those things that though people watch even if they don't like it or care?
All right, start the podcast. We'll talk about that during the show.
Anyways, all right. I'm trying to remember. I don't. There's no special intro for this, is there?
There
you
isn't.
You could pretend to be a stormtrooper. Go pew pew.
Okay.
Wait, since we're not advertising on this on iTunes, am I allowed to put the Star Wars theme music in the beginning? Right, I am.
On iTunes, if you want, I'm not going to put it on YouTube.
Okay.
I don't want John Williams suing us.
Okay.
You could do that. That'd be fun.
Do it. Go for it. Since
All
music
right,
has.
let's do it.
Yeah. What is going on, guys and girls? Today, welcome to the bonus zone for Can't Stop Playing. We are talking all about the recently revealed Star Wars Battlefront, not Battlefront 3, but a reimagining of a galaxy far, far away. I'm your host, Zach Ghostrobo, and joining me, as always, is the man with a plan, Gabriel Volatile Gabe.
I refuse to talk unless you acknowledge me as Darth Vader. No. What was it? Gabe Vader? No, Darth Gabe. There you go, Darth Gabe.
And joining us, as always, is the Alzheimer's-laden Darth Gabe. Can't remember his own name, but definitely remembers how to bring the pain.
Yeah, there we go. Now I can fully say hello. Hi.
And from the other side of Endor, we have Ewok Max.
Really?
Footswinger.
Ewok.
You-
So we go
All
from
right, and
Darth Gabe to Ewok Max. Like,
I gave you Darth
all
Max
of the
last time.
characters, and that's who you arrived at, right?
I gave you Darth Max last time, and you were like, you didn't want to be villainous, so I figured I'd just give you a more lovable role.
I thought the consensus was that he was Chumaxa.
Oh, right. Okay.
Really? Chumaxa? What's with all these
Yeah.
hairy characters? I'm not even that. Out of everybody on this podcast, you would be the one that would be fitting that role. Come on.
My beard is on like crazy levels right now. I didn't even.
Max Solo.
I didn't.
Alright.
Nah.
Son of Han.
All right.
I like that.
Fine. Max Solo. My beard is crazy right now, by the way.
So
All right,
Battlefront,
doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Battlefront was unveiled at the Star Wars Celebration. It is a next-gen only game, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, running 60 frames per second, battles with up to 40 players, toggle between first and third person, no campaign, but a Spec Ops type mode, flyable vehicles, but no space battles, and there's a couple more morsels throughout. What is just your overall take? Battlefront 1 and 2 were I'd say popular games, but I don't think they blew the world away. Now this one kind of comes out and is being set up to be like a dominator of the fall season.
I don't know about all of that, because Star Wars is popular, very, very popular, but it's not that popular.
80 million
Like it's
views.
yeah,
Not
that
popular?
was for a movie trailer. But like you said it yourself, how popular were Battlefront 1 and 2? Like I think people remember them so fondly that like they build up like their popularity and the fact that they were like that beloved in their head.
No,
but
they were popular, dude.
yeah, but how popular?
I think also Battlefront 1 and 2 are Xbox original games, and that's a pre like Call of Duty Mania era, pre Modern Warfare, pre big Battlefield, pre Titanfall and Destiny, and now you're in a place where that multiplayer shooter has a fervor around it, and you're not getting a Battlefield this fall, but you are getting Battlefront. I think it's going to push huge numbers.
You think so?
Yeah.
So now with all this, we see the Battlefront mania, right? We both changed our wallpapers. We currently have Battlefront wallpapers.
I have Ultron, so we know which side I'm on.
We're all Disney, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, Disney.
Some of us more than others because I'm with Polygon. But regardless, you think this comes close to Call of Duty numbers? I really don't think so. I think like there's a hype that Battlefront's coming back, but when it's all said and done, I don't know if that's going to translate into sales.
I don't think it needs to be Call of Duty numbers.
Yeah, like, but everybody's saying that this is going to...
I don't think so. I think anybody who's saying that this is going to outsell Call of Duty is insane. Like, as much as it is a huge franchise and it is going to be a big attraction, like what you said in that little roundup that you did right there, there are some qualities that are negative about this. There will be no campaign. There will be no space battles. Some of those things are the things that people really, really loved and really would like to see. So that's actually going to be detrimental to it. The other thing you have to think about is, from what we saw, in my opinion, I think that this is going to be a much slower shooter compared to what we see now with Advanced Warfare and Titanfall and a lot more like quick and twitchy kind of gameplay. This is going to be a lot more Call of Duty 4 or 5 years ago, in my opinion. So is that going to be a benefit to it or a negative? You know, because how is that going to play into it? So,
so you said that it not having a campaign is a negative, and I was never like huge into Battlefront. I played like a little bit of each, but from the consensus on the internet, I don't know if this is just them being like unapologetic for the franchise. People don't seem to care that it doesn't have a campaign. They're like, who plays this for a campaign anyways? This has always been a multiplayer thing.
So like hypocritical though, because we've been so critical of Titanfall and Evolve and the few others, and then all of a sudden Star Wars gets a buy because it's Star Wars. I think a campaign as either a rebel or a stormtrooper would have been brilliant. And,
I know.
And all you got to do is throw these environments. There's 4 main planets. There's Endor, there's Hoth, there's Tatooine, and then there's Sullust, which is sort of an unexplored in the lore type planet. And then there'll be the Battle of Jakku as free DLC, which we can get into later. But all you got to do is take those maps, structure a couple levels around them, throw in a few set piece ATSTs and this and that, and you have a campaign. That would be such a check mark to have on the back of the box.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not that easy to do.
Especially if you're trying to say that this thing wants to compete with Call of Duty. Like, I'll be honest with you guys, over the last week, I played for the first time the campaign for Advanced Warfare, which, by the way, in my opinion, is very underrated.
It's a really good campaign.
Dude, the character models in that are insane. I think that is the best looking game I've ever seen. It's better than The Order, in my opinion.
Oh.
Because I think Kevin Spacey and all those characters, they look just nuts. But nonetheless, that campaign made me realize the value of that game is way higher than what I thought it was. Because at this point, I've only played the online and the zombies mode, and that's it. I didn't play anything else other than that. But now, having played the campaign, I feel like that is, for sure, the best $60 you can spend in terms of pure value every single year. So if you want to bring out something to compete with that, you need to have a campaign. And especially considering now they said all of the extra universe is eliminated, you can go ahead and start fresh and tell the story of like maybe one rebel or like a specific stormtrooper or whatever it is, or maybe tell like a short 4 or 5 hour campaign for each of them from different perspectives. And that's it. And you have the opportunity to do a lot of really cool cinematics and a lot of really cool stuff because you have space to play with. So I think it is an absolute miss. And the other thing that is a miss, and I know this for a fact because one of my friends is a huge fan of the Battlefront games, and he said that he is absolutely not excited for the game without space battles. So that's another negative.
I mean, I think space battles is, if you want to be competitive, I think that's really hard to bring in.
Are they?
I mean,
other games do them. I mean,
what game? What game does transitional space?
No, not transitional. I didn't say transitional, but there's games that do space battles.
I mean, they do say, like, they're very coy with their language. They say you'll be able to fly above the battlefield in X-wings, TIE fighters, blah 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 blah.
See, and that's what I don't understand. Like, there's vehicular combat.
It's like Halo, then, like ghosts kind of above the ground.
Yeah, there's probably going to be like 1 or 2 vehicles on the map. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think Battlefield.
Choppers
Like,
in Battlefield, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what I would think it is, but I don't. Okay,
It's
so
slightly awkward because like X-wings and TIE fighters, you picture them going like zoom, like across the sky,
Super
and
yeah,
now what
they're
they're
fast.
in like hover mode, like bombing runs, or like what are they even
Oh,
gonna
come on,
do?
let's be honest. Considering the way that most people fly in Battlefield and everything, it'll be like this. It'll be like, is there some? Everybody got like super drunk and then decided to go flying.
all right, so we'll get into the details. I mean, even though we've been doing it, just all right. So overall takeaway from the announcement, just the day that did you come away more excited for Battlefront or less excited for Battlefront than you were originally, Max?
Well, for me personally, I guess I'm more excited. I wasn't that excited as it is because I wasn't a huge fan of the initial Battlefront, so this definitely got me excited for it.
Yeah.
But I'm one of those people that usually, like 9 times out of 10, I would say, I need a single player because I like to have a narrative kind of driven experience first and then go into online, kind of like explore that world and then dive into the online to interact within it. So for me, that's a huge disappointment, the fact that there is no campaign. Now, there is something they're calling like Spec Ops or
Spec
co-op
Ops.
mission, so maybe that will be what I'm looking for, so to speak. But from what they've described, it's been kind of vague, so
The thing I don't
it's kind of difficult
understand
to
about that
understand
is
what it is.
if you have a Spec Ops, that means that you are taking areas and chunking them down to like one or two player playable sections.
Yeah,
In
so
Call
why
of Duty,
not?
they were brought from the single player, so why not just push those Spec Ops into like it? It seems senseless. For me, I was left a little bit more excited, but I think it's because we weren't given all the info. I still have hopes that like, oh, the modes are going to be really cool, or the integration of the hero and villain characters is going to be really cool. I'm concerned that, like you guys mentioned, like the slower pace, if it is like Battlefront 1 and 2, which to me, like the guns didn't pack a punch, the whole like mentality of the game was very different from like what we know
You're
now.
throwing your lightsaber around. Like, are we going to be able to just throw lightsabers at people? Because that's like a big part of Battlefront 2.
I don't think so, because to me it sounds like Darth Vader, Boba Fett, whoever else they bring in for the heroes, Luke, Yoda, it's either going to be a massive kill streak or like a commander style thing, like Battlefield. Which one was that? 4. One of them had a commander mode where one person could
it was
be in
4.
charge. I hope it's a kill streak.
Yeah, I hope it's a kill streak. Because if it's a commander mode, that would be a huge disappointment. Because if you don't have to interact with these characters through single player, because there is none, and then additionally to that, like you're gonna lock it behind one person specifically having that role, I think that's, I don't know. I think that would be kind of cheap. Like we want to be able to at least potentially play as that character, right?
Right.
So.
And I think like the kill streak idea that people have kind of brought up of like, oh, you could call in a walker or a strike from a space vehicle, like that would be really fitting for this universe. It is interesting how little they showed and how much hype they garnered. Like the Star Wars Force Awakens trailer, you get to see the villain, right? You get to see some of the areas. You get to see the old cast in parts. You get to see like a Crash Star Destroyer. This really was like, we're a shooter. We've got vehicles. We got multiple game modes, and we've got favorite heroes and villains. Like, enjoy the game. And no gameplay in their gameplay trailer. No, nothing. I mean, yeah, it's first and third person, which again, how do you guys feel about that? Like, to me, that right off says like they're not going to be competitive in the same way like Call of Duty or Battlefield have strived to be.
I mean, I sort of just assumed it was going to be. Like, apparently it was a big thing when they confirmed that it was. They were always first and third person, so to me it's not surprising. You're probably right though. Like, it can't be as competitive as far as like pure gameplay goes.
The only concern for me is once again the slowness of gameplay, because I feel like when you do third person, like having played GTA Online over the last few days, and they do the same thing, right? Like you can go into first person and play it first, or zoom out and play third person. Third person, naturally speaking, or has a tendency to be a lot slower paced. You know, it's a lot more kind of methodical and kind of cumbersome, and that impacts then the first person gameplay, which can be a lot more dynamic and fast. So I'm worried that by doing both again, it's going to slow it down even more. But to be fair, look, over the last little while, there has been kind of a nice little groundswell of people saying, hey, we want a World War II game again, and we want a slower game again, right? And people are excited about Halo doing a more traditional arena shooter and less of the jetpack and stuff like that. So maybe this is something that people actually want to see, right? Like a slower and back to kind of basics shooter. I personally enjoy the quickness of Advanced Warfare, so I'm worried about that, but I guess we'll see how it actually is implemented as the final product.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping for just like a Call of Duty Titanfall style game skinned in Star Wars, because you know the speed, the kill streaks, all that sort of stuff. You think about like Gears of War, you think about games like Mass Effect that have done third-person shooting. They are much meatier, slower, big rolls, take cover. This is not that. So then where does it fit in? Looks-wise, like they're saying that's all in-engine and it looks gorgeous, but it sounded like neither of you were really buying that as real final.
I mean, fool me once, shame on me type thing. Like, how many times are we told, like, hey, this is what the game's going to look like, then the game comes out and it's not what the game looks like? So, you know, for me, I sort of just know better.
Yeah,
like,
I think they should always say, this is what we hate, this is what we hope the game will look like. Like, once we saw it to you, this is what we hope.
One of the devs on Twitter was like, it's 60 frames per second, it looks like this on all platforms, which is, I don't know.
Well, that right away is a red flag, because it can't look that way on all platforms. PC will have a tendency to be the superior right away, and then PS4.
But he's saying PS4 and Xbox One, and you can also get it to look like that on PC. Of course, PC will look better, but that's like the lowest of the low in their mind. Like,
hopefully, look,
I hope so too. I don't
want to be cynical. Like, I hope that this, like, I know for a fact, like, that it certainly is. That's what they want it to look like. Like, I'm sure they're not like, let's tell them it looks like this, but then it's gonna look awful. Yes, awesome, guys. They're planning for it to look this good. Now, will it look this good? We have a lot of things to look back to. Watch Dogs being a very recent one, as to whether or not it will end up looking like this. But I guess only time will tell, really, in that regard.
Let's talk the DLC a little bit, since that was a focal point of the podcast
DLC,
last week.
which is nice.
So it's structured in that, obviously, because the movie releases in December, they're not going to reveal plot points or locations. So you get this Battle of Jakku DLC 2 weeks before the movie comes out. I believe if you pre-order the game, you get it an extra
7 days,
earlier.
Yeah.
But it still is free for everyone.
Which is very cool.
Which is very cool. Now, inevitably, there will be future DLC packs which won't be free. So you could,
for the other episodes, for sure.
Right. You could sort of run this through your head as well. It was supposed to be in the game. Now they're just calling it DLC so they can abide by the embargoes of the movie, or how does this work? Nonetheless, it's great that they are giving players an incentive to keep playing the game beyond the first couple weeks it's out. Also of note, they aligned with PlayStation, which I think is a pretty big deal.
Similar to Destiny.
Yeah, that PS4, not known for the most exclusives, has sort of wrapped up a partnership with possibly the biggest third-party game.
How interesting is that?
Call of Duty.
Right there. All right, Activision, Titanfall, they went Xbox. Activision, Destiny, they went with PS4, and now EA with this is going to PS4. Like, there's no loyalty whatsoever.
It's all about the money.
Yeah, like, it's just whoever throws the most money at you, and that's the logo you're going to put at the end of your trailer.
Why would they need to be loyal to anyone?
Well, I mean, not loyalty per se, but like a pattern of, hey, we did Titanfall with Microsoft, that went well, so let's do this with Microsoft too. Like,
is it shows up with an extra zero at the end? They're like, hey, I mean, I really like the guys at Sony too. So
I think it all ties into what their exclusive lineup is. Like, for example, Microsoft, has Halo 5 as their main shooter push, so they don't maybe need to wrap up a third-party shooter. If, Uncharted 4 came out, Sony wouldn't be as interested in Tomb Raider because they had Uncharted 4, now Microsoft. So it probably matches up in that way. I just think it's telling that, is Sony not going to come out, with a whole lot if this is going to be their big... It might not be their biggest push, but that probably costs a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure it did, but I also feel like we're getting more and more to a generations like where there's less focus on exclusives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the third-party games are really kind of the appeal. Like, we look with each generation, there's less and less exclusive titles. Like, Metal Gear with the last generation became no longer exclusive, right? And then now it's coming to both platforms. So I think that there's going to be, generally speaking, a tendency to go this direction where companies will acquire third-party games for exclusive content or exclusive partnerships to, like what they did with Destiny, right? And look, it's been a massive success for them, right?
Yeah.
Destiny is their #1 selling game on the console. It's not The Last of Us, So once again, people speak with their wallet. It's not like people went out and bought The Last of Us more than they bought Destiny on PS4s, meaning that people didn't choose an exclusive over a third-party game. So for them, in their logic, when they're at a meeting, it's like, hey, if we can secure a huge, huge game, why not go ahead and do that?
Yeah, and I mean, also, the game has split screen, which is weird in 2015. You don't see that often.
Local only.
Yeah, local only.
Not online.
Yeah.
Which is a bit disappointing.
I mean, it's something. Like, most games these days don't even do split screen. So, I mean, I was pleasantly surprised by that. Not that I would even play it, but,
Does it come across to you as a bit of a thin package for a big masterpiece?
Right now, yes.
Yeah, well, we don't know what else is in it.
Yeah, if this is... like what you said, it felt like a bit of a flat announcement, but it still garnered a lot of hype. That's what I'm worried about, is that this is the announcement. Like, there's nothing else in terms of fundamentally, like, really important stuff or, like, things that gives you
I think it is
value.
They'll reveal more modes. They said there's 8-player modes, up to 40-player modes.
I'm hoping for E3 they do something, like another big thing. Like, maybe those co-op missions are basically a single player, but played... like maybe like you take the role of a rebel and then you're the role of a stormtrooper, and you know what I mean. Maybe it's something like, I don't know exactly, but I'm hoping that maybe with those co-op missions they kind of like say, hey, look, there is a narrative to it. It's just done through a co-op style, which would be kind of interesting. So I don't know. Maybe that is what we are still looking for. But right now it definitely feels a little bit light. And it's kind of interesting because, they've had quite a bit of time to work on this game, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little weird as to why.
Do you think, like, if you were developing this game, to me, like, the instant thought would be, okay, let's make it like Call of Duty or Battlefield, fast-paced, go after that audience. Do you think by kind of going in what we think the other direction of, like, a little bit slower pace, are they trying to appeal to a wider market besides the Call of Duty player, like the Star Wars fan?
Well, Call of Duty is the biggest market.
Yeah, Call of Duty. It's the opposite.
But I guess then why would you not target that demographic again, or that market?
Because, like I said, I think that maybe there's a trend right now for people saying, like, hey, we want what we had a few years back. Like we have heard people say, hey, Call of Duty should do another World War II game.
But
even
that's
though
still like
if you go 5 years back, no, if you remember, well.
I'm not talking about like dashing, but Battlefront plays
it will
really
be
slow.
Yeah. So that's the concern. I don't know. I guess we'll see how it's actually finally implemented. I mean, there's a lot of hurdles for them to jump from a gameplay standpoint in terms of, hey, it played really fun a decade ago, but will it play fun now?
I mean, and DICE knows how to make
it genuinely fun, or will it be nostalgia fun?
Do they?
We'll see.
They know how to make shooters.
Do they?
At one point, they were one of the best. Battlefield, Bad Company 2, and Battlefield 2. People loved that. Those things, and I think those would even still work now. So it's not like they don't know how to make a good game. You can say what you want about Battlefield not being as great these days, with like Hardline and Battlefield 4, like pretty much pooping the bed, but somewhere in that team, they know what they're doing.
I think one of the most critical things for this game. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say the destructibility should be very, very cool. Tearing down trees. I'm assuming you can do all that. I don't know. Their engine lends itself to it.
I think one of the most critical things for this game is going to be the unlock system. If there is a healthy slew of like different armors and guns, and maybe the heroes are really cool, and so at level 1 you can only be Boba Fett, but then level 10 Vader, and level 20 Palpatine, and level 30 what's the villain in this, the new guy, episode 7?
Max Solo.
Whatever,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whatever, Kylo Ren, I think is his name.
Yeah.
You could be him. If there's something like that to keep people playing, because Battlefront 1 and 2 were pretty, I feel like they were pretty sterile in terms of that sort of stuff. And Titanfall kind of, people said, well, if they had this, it would have been okay that it was multiplayer only. Lining them up, if you're saying that, these co-op missions end up being, just average, you're looking at similar packages. So I feel like that unlock stuff and the progression is going to be critical. They said that there will be more than there was a rumor that there's only 2 maps per planet, so 8 maps. They confirmed there will be more than 8 maps at launch, and they confirmed that there is unlocks and progression-based stuff. So
yeah, I hope there's like customization to that too.
Yeah.
Like on top of that, with that, to go along with that, there's an element of customizing your character and stuff like that. So that, again, that's what you want from a all online experience. If that's what you chose to do with this thing, it has to be a really comprehensive package, because like what you said, if we are all like, oh, but it's okay because it's Star Wars,
Right.
that's hypocritical. It's not fair that we are able to look at a game like Evolve or something and say, oh, that's not fair. There's not enough content there. But then when it's Star Wars, it's like, because it looks good and it's Star Wars themed, we're all okay with it. I think it's the same kind of element. Like,
They got a lot of
if you're gonna go
material.
all online, you need to do a comprehensive package. Like, you need to it needs to be on par with what Call of Duty offers. And remember, Call of Duty, that's only a segment of the game. Here you're going to say that's our whole game. So it better be at least that in depth.
I want to see Stormtrooper helmets, Snowtrooper helmets, Imperial Guard helmets. I want to see different colors. If everyone just drops in as a Stormtrooper or a generic Rebel man, woman, that's not looking good. Apparently you'll be able to drive like AT-STs and stuff. Like, there was some discussion of whether it would be on rails or free controlling. Do you think that this game can succeed as a deathmatch game, dropping down to those 8-player variants, or is this like basically big battle or bust?
Hopefully it can be a little bit of both, but the point I wanted to make was what you guys were saying about this needs to be a complete package. EA put out Titanfall, right?
True.
And the biggest concern or criticism of that was that it lacked content in every way. Not enough maps, not enough guns, not enough variations of game modes. So my hope is that they learned their lesson from that, right? Like, EA is not going to have the Titanfall perform how it does, and then say like, we're just going to do that again with Star Wars. Like, do you think they do that? Like, you don't think they learn from that?
You would hope they did. That's the hope, obviously, is that they did learn from it and they understand that if you're going to do an all online experience, it needs to be more than just the bare necessities. Because again, the other problem is like always the amount of players, the user base is going to dictate your experience of this game. If you drop in and you're never in a 40-player battle because it just doesn't matchmake very well, or there's not enough people playing the game on that map or whatever, that's a problem, because then you never experience the game at its full scale, right? If their intention is to recreate these huge, epic Star Wars-like battles, then it needs to have enough depth to where you are going to be able to drop into a match with 40 players or, let's say, 20 players plus consistently. Because if you go into a game mode and it's always 8 players and it's slow and cumbersome and it takes a long time to get through a match, that's going to be a very tough sell. And there is no single player or like something else to kind of save you from that. So I think it's going to be very, very important for them to pack this thing with enough content and enough of a scaling, like what you said, kind of like an unlock system, so that people will stick with it long enough to where you can get a good user base of people that are consistently playing.
Let's be very clear. This is one split screen away from being an online-only game. Like, that local split screen co-op is what saves this from being online-only, and so they better go to work on those servers. You cannot have a Battlefield 4 launch or any of those issues. I assume they've learned from it. They will. Looking on more of the like Star Wars side of things, what do you think about the choice to sort of not include episodes 1, 2, and 3? And focus on like the original trilogy as the focus of
they're doing their best to keep away from those things as much as possible. It seems like
plus I think they know, like, Star Wars is known for like nickel and diming practically every process, so they know, look, like, let's be realistic, like we talked about DLC. If they pack these 3 episodes very well, and then you get the free map from episode 7 and such, or like the new Star Wars, then it would be really cool for them to obviously go ahead and then say, let's say in February, hey, we're doing episode 1, and then we're going to do episode 2 in wherever, June.
DLC, yeah.
And so it's like, for them, it's a built-in DLC system right away, right? And then after that, they could do stuff like maybe Clone Wars, and then do some other things.
I would have been so much more excited if this did have like episode 7 centric stuff, because even that Battle of Jakku is like a pre-episode 7.
Yeah, they said that you're not going to see anything from,
which is sort of like
the actual. Which, by the way, then makes me think, like, why is it then like DLC? Why is it just not right away included? Because if you're not going to spoil anything, and you can get it 3 weeks earlier than what the movie comes out, basically, why not just include it right away? You know,
I think
It's kind
it
of
is
weird.
a lure to keep people playing and to
Yeah,
revitalize that
yeah.
market. And I'm sure they will do DLC. Oh, now you can be the Gungans or now whatever. But if they had like those
Jar
new,
Jar. Oh, that
yeah,
would be awesome.
he's the hero you call in. He just makes
Yeah.
everyone cry. If they had like those new Chrome Troopers or stuff like that in this game, I feel like
I hope they do. I really think they do.
already in there,
And if
or as
not,
like
they'll sell
future
it to you
next
at some point.
Yeah, yeah. They'll have to either sell it to you or because like look, if we've seen it, like I don't get the whole idea. If we've seen it in the trailer, why not let me like let's say in level 40 or something, right? Like if they have a prestige system, once I prestige I unlock that helmet, like that
I
chrome
just don't get
mask.
why, if you're trying to push this new trilogy, why would you not want a game that would emphasize all of that?
Because they've been very secretive about everything. Like I remember I watched a collectibles panel that they live streamed, and when there were questions about episode 7 stuff, like if they're like the Force Awakens, the lady that's from Lucasfilm, she was like, we can't comment on that right now. We like to keep a lot of surprises for you. So when we get closer to the release of the film, and if
Right.
JJ decides to reveal things, that's when we are going to discuss.
I mean,
it.
I just think like you see episode 7, you're gonna be like hyped, and then you're gonna be like, all right, when's Battlefront 2? Like when
or no,
I want to be these
the
guys.
Battlefront of the Force Awakens expansion pack or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I think it's going to be either in DLC or I hope that it's there in the customization because I want that chrome helmet.
Yeah,
That
I
thing
think
is
it could
insane.
be. This could be kind of like secretly laying the groundwork for more of a long-lasting evergreen type title where they give you the original trilogy, Max, like you're saying, then they sell you those episodes, then they sell you 7, then when Rogue One comes out, they sell you a Rogue One map, scenarios. If the co-op missions are well done, imagine what they could do there. All of a sudden, you have a mission, chasing down Kylo Ren, or a mission, chasing down, whatever the Death Star plans like in Rogue One. There is a very fertile bed to do like years and years worth of expansive content if the base game and those co-op things are, up to snuff.
Yeah, which we'll see.
In fact, that sounds like a pretty awesome idea. Like almost doing like what Mortal Kombat X does with like the timeline. They could do that as well. Like kind of like have specific timelines for characters, right? Like, hey, here's certain scenes that you get to recreate from episode 4, and then from episode 5, and then from episode 6, and then here's this new DLC, and then we're gonna tackle the original trilogy. I mean, the first 3. And then after that, The Force Awakens. And then as they continue, they could do that. But I think that if this is a big success, which it should be, financially speaking at least, then I think that they're much more likely to have another annual title. Especially if it gets to a point where like they could position this as an alternative to Call of Duty.
Yeah.
That would be a really good thing for them.
So then the problem becomes next year, I doubt they would release Battlefield 5 and another, Battlefront 2.
Gabe, do you know who is working on more of the solo Star Wars stuff? Is that EA as well? Do they have the
It's
exclusive?
Visceral.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wonder if that also contributes, like, hey, Visceral is making a single-player Star Wars game, so we want to keep these kind of like,
Separate.
here's your so they don't mix or feel same.
Well, because they're working.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say they're working on at least 2 other Star Wars games that they have mentioned. So.
Yeah, but the problem is like you don't want to get to a point where it feels like, hey, this should be one package. Like that's the issue you want to avoid. I hope that what Visceral is doing is like their own thing. You know what I mean? In terms of just being single player, but not based on existing characters. Like you can interact with existing characters, kind of like what Telltale does with The Walking Dead, where you see some characters from the TV show and the comics sometimes, but it's still original characters in this world. So that's what I'm hoping they do. Whereas Battlefront, I would hope to be based on the films and let me recreate iconic scenes from the films and such. Yeah. So I think that's a good way to differentiate them, right? Like these guys are doing their own original characters in this world, but then Battlefront is focused on the world that we know and recreating and playing within it.
Yeah.
For sure.
A lot of cool Star Wars games going to be released, I think. I think this is going to be the golden age of Star Wars games because I like what Visceral does a lot, and they've done Dead Space, so they know how to do stuff in space. But give us that game. What was it called? 1515? Is that what that was?
Star Wars 13.
Yeah, that like give us something. I mean, I know that game's dead and we're never getting that, but give us something like that where it's a single player experience and very cool levels, things like that. That'd be great.
But please don't sell us gun parts. Please. Let's not do Dead Space 3. Please,
No,
please.
for sure.
Please
Dead
don't
Space
do
1 and like something on that quality, and it's going to be awesome. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's like one of my favorite games. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
I hope that Visceral with Hardline, that was just a hiccup, and they can. I feel like Hardline would have been a better game if it didn't have Battlefield on it.
It sold well.
I know it sold really well. I just feel like if they weren't hams, I don't know. But either way, so final like wrap up thoughts. Battlefront, based on what you know, are you looking for this to be like a factor in your game of the year list? Is it something that you're kind of writing off? Like where for you personally do you stand?
Who, me or Max?
Gabe, you go first.
Okay.
Darth
okay.
Gabe,
I don't.
lead the charge.
I'm evil. I don't think this comes anywhere near my like game of the year list just because it's multiplayer only. It could be fantastic. Who knows? If it's everything I wanted out of Titanfall, as far as like content goes, like there's a lot of stuff, and I'm sticking with it for a long time. But now I'm not the type of guy that's gonna call a multiplayer only game of the year. Like that's just not me. So I don't think so. But I'm excited for it. And I wasn't excited for it before. Remember, at the beginning of the year, we didn't even know if this was coming this year. Now it's fully coming, November 17th, right? That's the date.
Yep.
Which they also announced, which is cool. Good time to release it. I think it's timed well with the movie release, and hopefully it does well. Hopefully it's good. But yeah,
it's gonna do well. I think that's a safe
I think the
bet.
game sells even if it was
Yeah.
like 2 out of 10.
I'm not on that train with you guys. I don't think that the Star Wars brand gives it this.
80 million trailer views. You're the one who was hyping that up before
No,
we
I
started.
love the trailer. Like it's
obviously gonna be
very
But
different.
this game, it's gonna sell well no matter what. Look at again Battlefield Hardline sold quite well. So
Yeah. I think it sells well too,
Star
but
Wars.
I'm just saying I don't think it's immune to like God. Let's say 2K comes and says, "Hey, we're gonna do all this weird stuff, guys."
Let's be clear though. I mean, EA could do that. Battlefield
Yeah.
4 has a package that's like basically maps and some nonsense like kits, and I think they charge $50 for their like season pass ultimate.
they did Dead Space 3. Remember?
So
Yeah.
they could screw this up royally.
I
and
just
milk
my only
fans.
point is I don't think this is immune to failure. I'm not saying that it is gonna fail, but I'm saying it's not immune. I'm excited for it where I wasn't before though, so that's cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited because like just getting to play in that world and such will be fun. I'm a little bit skeptical, like Gabe, and I think you are too, in terms of the value that's going to be there. And I'm hoping that at E3 we kind of get some sort of another big drop of something. Like maybe these co-op missions are a lot more than what they seem. They certainly aren't acting like they are. You know, they're not really hyping them up as I would like for them to. So I'm hoping maybe these co-op missions are like a suitable replacement to a single-player experience. And if that's the case, I really think that this game has the potential to do well. Because again, I think that it is a solid team behind this. I hope that EA has learned over the last few kind of stumbling blocks that they've had, you know, with the launch of Battlefield 4 and then with Titanfall and such. I would hope that they learned and adjusted and rebuilt. And then this is kind of their revitalization of their own shooter expansions, you know, and then from here we go on into an exciting time for Star Wars games. So we'll see. This is definitely going to be an important one for them to get right because, again, like we said, they're working on other games, and you know, if you leave a sour taste in the users and the consumers' mind, they're less likely to buy the next one.
Yeah, important for sure.
I think it's going to sell no matter how good it is. I think it's interesting that it has so much hype because Battlefront was fun, but I don't think either of those games were like phenomenal, amazing games. My dark fear is that the co-op missions are nothing more than multiplayer maps that you play with another person going around killing stuff to get to like an end point. But if they are able to do those right and the multiplayer has some sort of flow to it, I could easily see this being one of my favorite games of the year. The Star Wars skin alone is great. If they do customization well, the hero villain stuff could be very fun to integrate and play as Vader, Kylo Ren DLC, or whoever you get to be Yoda. I guess like you don't want to be a really tiny guy running.
That would be funny.
I think like the whole. a lot of it I think just boils down to the mechanics of the game. Like if it plays right and you feel like this is a good shooter, Battlefield, for whatever you want to say about their problems, they have established, like Gabe mentioned earlier, a good shooter. Like it feels good, it plays right. If they can get that, I think this could easily be up there on top 10 lists. It's an interesting place coming after Halo, after Call of Duty, so it is going to have like some stuff to live up to. Like it's going to need to come out well. They're not choosing a September release date to come out early and be like, hey, we're the big seller, at the end of summer. They're saying, hey, we are the holiday game for EA coming out November 17th. Bring it on Black Friday. Come buy this. I'm sure there will be some sort of package deals with PS4s. I wouldn't doubt if we see a bundle.
A Clone Trooper PS4?
Get a movie ticket with every
my
copy
God,
of the game.
that would be awesome. Or a Yoda PS4. They make a green one.
That would be there's like an exclusive
That would be neat.
like contest for a PS4. They didn't really show what it is, but it's in like this big Star Wars box.
Well,
Anyways,
to be fair, look, this could be what you and I said we wanted from Destiny, like the jungles and the luscious environment. So this could be like, it could give us that too, like give us finally a really interesting environment to be in when you're playing a
those shots in the trailer are very like that. Like I don't know if how real to gameplay that is, but there was, especially the Endor scenes, like when they drop sort of that personal shield. That's another thing I wanted to point out. It seems more involved because of that right there. Like there's going to be equipment and different things.
Yeah, there was a jetpack like that.
Yeah,
I'm fairly certain you could use in the game.
So maybe this does go faster paced than we're expecting. I don't know. 2 months away from E3. Hopefully we'll get to play it there and bring you guys more fun facts and figures. Right now though, it's kind of, we'll just leave it up to the Force. Hopefully it will guide it home to a good game.
Don't go to the dark side, please.
Yeah.
I mentioned it in passing, but like if they put like a couple movie tickets in it with every copy of the game, man, I'll take it. Like, cause they used to do that a lot back in the day, like for like
they still
Spider-Man 2.
They still do it for like DVDs and stuff. You can buy like a re-release of like, let's say Jurassic Park, right? Like they're doing the Jurassic Park. If you buy the Blu-ray, you get an $8 brochure for movie tickets. So.
Yeah, like something like that. I'd totally fall for that. I know a lot of people would too. So, yeah.
That does it for our Star Wars celebration. Thank you guys and girls for listening or watching. If you're on iTunes, make sure to leave us a review if you'd be so kind. On YouTube, let us know your thoughts on Star Wars Battlefront as well. Make sure to follow Max on Twitter, twitter.com/blitzwinger. Make sure to follow Darth the Gabe on Twitter, twitter.com/volatile Gabe. You can send him fan art of him dressed in a very awesome evil suit. I'm at twitter.com/ghostrobo. Until next time, guys, girls, thanks again. We'll see you all later.
Hot chocolate.
Boycott ketchup.
Did you hear that, Gabe? Like Gabe